GoThunderWolves.com here with head coach Austin Albers. Austin, let's talk about this past weekend. Really quick, 4-0. You only dropped one set. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it was great to get on the road and just see our ladies play well, handle some adversity. We had moments where I felt like we really flowed and played well, and then we had moments where I felt like we were kind of pulling ourselves back with some things. So we saw a lot of things that we can fix, but anytime you go on the road and drop just one set, it's got to give you some confidence. And I think there's a lot of excitement among our staff and team and just the program in general about what we can become. And so my hope is that, going into that first weekend, you think you might be pretty good, but you don't know until you show up. And so the big thing with us is, all right, now we've gotten a little bit of validation, and so can we use that excitement to spark interest in fixing the little things and getting better. Our big thing is we just don't want to become complacent, because 4-0 is great, but 8-0 would be better. And so we have our sights set on this weekend and trying to make some big improvements this week in practice.
Before we move on to this upcoming weekend, brush really quick on how it felt to take down number 13 Angelo State on their home court.
That was fun, we were a little jittery in that first set, just didn't receive it well enough to get in system, and they were riding a really nice high from that first match of theirs. And then I felt like once we settled in, we were able to go blow for blow. We did a really good job blocking at the net, which is something we hadn't worked on a ton in preseason, just because we've been really trying to focus on getting our offense figured out and our rotation figured out. So for our block to show up and slow down some of the big guns that they have was awesome, because they're a terrific team. I feel like they'll bounce back and get some things going. But anytime you're able to go in there, and especially with the history of success that they've had in that tournament, I knew about it because I read the articles going in, but I didn't tell my team until after the match. And so that was a little icing on the cake to be able to kind of end that streak and just go out there and hopefully earn some respect in week one.
Let's talk about that block really quick. We had Josie Nunn, who just showed up, 21 total blocks on the weekend, and then she also received help from Jazzy Espinoza, Sadie Schofield, also Peyton Van Veen. Talk a little bit about that attack on how a team that kind of lived in attack mode last year is now defensive-minded.
Yeah, I think we're understanding the system. We're playing pretty well in it. There are little tweaks and things we can get better at, but Josie is such a big anchor in terms of what she brings to the table defensively. She got that way toward the end of last season, and now the big difference is she's got some offense flowing with it. So it just makes her such a more dynamic weapon and somebody that's hard to take off the floor for us. But I was really impressed with the freshmen, stepping up on the pin, setting up some big blocks. Peyton especially, we're moving her around a lot, and so sometimes she's on this pin and sometimes she's on this pin, and even going into that last match against Southern Nazarene, they had some cannons. And so what we started doing is we started moving her around to their best hitter. Wherever their best hitter was, we just started playing Peyton in that spot to try to slow her down. And she responded really well. She worked really hard on her blocking this summer. She would text me and say, "Hey, Coach, my main focus is blocking. My main focus is blocking." And so wherever she was, whatever she was doing, it worked, because she came back a much better blocker. And so kudos to her, for being able to kind of ID that weakness after the spring and then go after and work on it on her own this summer.
This upcoming weekend, you got some tough tests as well. You have your own tournament, Steel City Showcase, your second year doing it. Talk a little bit about these opponents and what you expect to see from your team heading into it.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's nice to host. I told our team, I said, if you took all of the teams that came down last year and added up their win totals, it's going to be significantly different than the teams rolling in here this year. So I feel like we've got a really crop of good teams that can challenge us and push us on our home floor, which is really what we need right now. We need people on us, making us play good volleyball so that we're not getting complacent and stagnant. Monterey Bay had a solid weekend coming in, either 2-2 or 3-1. I can't really remember. Davidson Elkins went 4-0 at their home tournament. Wilmington 0-4, seemed to be struggling a little bit, but they'll obviously fix some things this week. And then Dallas Baptist went 2-2. But they're good, man. Don't let that record fool you. I've watched film. They brought in a bunch of D1 transfers. I watched the film. They're as good on film as they are on paper. It's just a situation of, I think it's early and they're figuring out their stuff. But expect that match on Friday night to be a battle. So we've got to be ready to go. We've got to be about our stuff this week and really work on fixing the things that we need to fix so that we can compete and protect home floor and give our fans a show here at Missouri.
Heading out of this past weekend and into the next against worthy opponents, especially Dallas Baptist and Monterey Bay, let's talk about what maybe are some tweaks, without giving too much away, obviously, for opponents. What are maybe some tweaks that you would like to see tightened up?
Yeah, I feel like I felt like we passed it pretty well on the road. Passing and serving is kind of like shooting in basketball. When you go on the road, your percentages drop a little bit. When you're at home, you're a little bit better, right? And your role players typically play a little bit better at home because you're in a familiar space. I didn't think we served it particularly well. We didn't make a lot of errors, but we were not as high ace percentage as we normally are. I think we got to go back and we got to attack some people more in our comfortable space here. And then, I think for us, that second right side position, we tried Bailey in there, we tried Kendall in there, we tried Casey in there. So we're still figuring that out. I think we can get something great out of that position. We have great depth there, we've got great players there, but we're still waiting for somebody to step up and shine consistently. And so we'll work on, see who stands out in practice and get that one figured out. And then I feel like for us, our setters really set the tone for what we can be. We've got big arms all over the place, and so now we've got to make sure that they can take full swings. And so our setters have set some really good goals this week. They've been super responsive to the times that they didn't play particularly well this weekend. And I think if we can get them just a little bit more back to the basics of focusing on our footwork and our finish and our locations, and getting our hitters swinging more consistently, I think our offense takes off if we can do those things. So those will be some things that we focus on this week.
Heading into this weekend, home opener, back in Missouri. It'll be a great little homecoming for everybody. What are your final thoughts heading into Steel City Showcase?
I'm just excited to be home. It was a long trip, 5 days to get down and back. Coming back 4-0 certainly helps, but we're excited to get a little home cooking, to see our fans start to show up, and just to play here at home and start to put things together. After a good weekend, we want to now put it together and really see things start to connect and click. And so I'm just excited for our players to play in this atmosphere. We've got a lot of families traveling out to see their kiddos play and compete. And so I'm just excited for that home atmosphere and that family feel. I think it's going to be a great weekend of volleyball with some great teams. Even the matches we're not playing in, there's going to be some awesome volleyball. So I'm just excited to see all that.
Head Coach Austin Albers, thanks for talking. Best start in your tenure as head coach. Best of luck to keep it going this weekend.
Thank you.